Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the last session, Thailand Startup Opportunities and Challenges. The panelists include Mr. Thanapong Ranong, Managing Director of Beacon Venture Capital Limited, a subsidiary of Kasikorn Bank with an initial fund of 1 billion baht to invest in venture capital funds and startup funds. Secondly, Mr. Paul Srivorakul, Group Chief Executive Officer of Acommerce, the region's leading e-commerce service operating in Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and the Philippines. Since its founding in May 2013, it has raised over $17 million, one of the largest series of funding round in Southeast Asia. And lastly, Mr. Yod Chinsupakul, CEO and co-founder of Wongnai, a leading restaurant review website based in Thailand, which now has over 1.6 million members and 400,000 reviews across over 100,000 restaurants in Thailand, which he will be joining our session shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, as Thailand Startup Opportunities and Challenges, the startup ecosystem in Thailand has grown rapidly in the past year, almost 100 times in terms of total funds raised. This is due to the improving quality of Thai founders and also the relocation from other continents to Southeast Asia, especially Thailand, and the serious focus of the Thai government on startup. In 2017, how much growth will continue considering that e-commerce, marketplace, and fintech, which were very attractive in 2016, will continue? We will find out shortly. We hope that our distinguished guests who participated today's event, Thailand Big Strategic Move, have enjoyed all the sessions that we have provided throughout the day. Ladies and gentlemen, the stage is now ready. May I invite all speakers and moderator, which is moderated by Dr. Santi Kiranand, Senior Executive Vice President, the Stock Exchange of Thailand, on the stage, please. Please welcome them with a big round of applause.
Good afternoon. I think all day long that you have already participated in, you may have a lot of serious content. So the last session, which is the Thailand Startup Opportunities and Challenges, which I intend to make it lively, make it more natural. So you may see that our panelist is in a very good dress. In fact, I should take off my tie and my jacket, but unfortunately, because I'm the staff of the Stock Exchange of Thailand, I have to be the formal like this. Unfortunately, Kun Yod might get stuck in the bad traffic in this area, so he will join shortly. I would like again to introduce our panelists here. One of my panelist here is Kun Thanapong Ranong. He is the Managing Director of the Beacon Venture Capital Limited. And the second one is Kun Paul Srivorakul, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Acommerce, who is the one that operates the e-commerce all over the Southeast Asia. So you may see that how big they are. Kun Paul will represent the idea of the entrepreneur, and Kun Thanapong, I'm sorry because I always call him as Kun Mot. Kun Thanapong will share the experience or the will on the side of the investors. I would like to start with Kun Thanapong first because you are the investor here in Thailand. We are talking about the challenges and opportunities. To have the good news, I think we better start with the opportunities here in Thailand. According to your opinion, because you are the investor, and Beacon is not the first company that you do this job, right? This is the second company, so you have an extensive experience on that. Please share the experience.
Okay. So right now I moved to bank. So I must say that the opportunity is the fintech.
Fintech, right?
Because right now in Thailand, the unbanked people is about 20% of Thai people. So they still have a gap or the room for the fintech to penetrate in Thailand. I think, and I think it's good for the Thai economy too. Because the fintech that help the unbanked Thai people to reach the new instrument in the financial service, make them more efficiency in doing the business, must make the total economic have in a better way. And the second thing I think is the UGC. It's a user-generated content business. Right now, you know that the Thai people spend time on the mobile phone about 6 hours per day, but they spend the time on the TV only 2 hours per day. So right now, the consumer behavior, they change from the TV to the smartphone, smart device on your palm already. And also the advertising spending now shift from the offline to online. So I think in the future from now, more UGC content will become more popular and will gain the key media for the advertiser or the brand to do some advertising and promotion through these channels. The third one is the AI. So I think the AI will become the main or the key technology in the future. AI and the chatbot also, especially for the Thai people who love to chat. So right now in the future, everything will be in the chat room, like in the line. You can do anything on the line application. Like if you want to buy a thing, you just key. For example, if you want to buy a cinema ticket, you just key in the line application the name of the movie or something. The line will pop up the application to buy the ticket. It's called the AI and the chatbot. So in the future, you don't need to install many apps in your mobile phone. Just have Line application, Facebook, Messenger, and everything will be in there. So I think it's the new trend of the way we use the application or the mobile phone in the future. And the startup who do the AI or the chatbot will have a room to go to.
So Khun Thanapong points out that the three opportunities that you have seen right now here in Thailand might focus on three things. The first one is the fintech. The second one is the UTC, and the third one is the artificial intelligence, especially the chatbot, because the behavior of the consumer changes a lot. Now, Khun Yod Chinsupakul, right, CEO and co-founder of Wongnai. I think everybody here knows Wongnai very well, and some way somehow we are the customer of the Wongnai already. Okay, so may I move from Khun Thanapong, who is the investors, and that points of view investor who focus on three areas of the startup. Now let me move to the startup entrepreneur. May I start with Khun Paul first? Do you see the opportunities here in Thailand concerning the environment or the ecosystem here for the startup?
So most of the companies that we built in the past has always started with Thailand first. And why we love Thailand is just that it's a closed market. In terms of the consumer spending power is big, a closed language market. So a lot of Thais actually surf local Thai content, looking for local Thai products. And so the ecosystem in Thailand is fairly closed. You can build a startup here, and once you get it successful, for us, we immediately look at Indonesia and expand into Indonesia. And we, for a startup, we really like to grab the two hardest markets first, because we feel that you can build a lot of value in Thailand and in Indonesia, which are the two largest economies. And then from there, we expand into the other markets. So, my company is called Acommerce. And so we are an e-commerce enabler where we help basically brands with their full e-commerce, what we call end-to-end or full service strategy. So we help, for example, companies like L'Oreal Group or Samsung, for helping Samsung with B2B e-commerce or B2E to employees, Nestle, Unilever. So we help these big brands basically reach direct to consumer. So they will sell either on the local marketplaces, whether it's in Thailand, in Indonesia, or in the Philippines, or they build their own direct-to-consumer website, which is what we call B2C website or a B2B. So our business, we've started in Thailand in 2013. Currently, today, we have 1,500 staff. We've raised a total of 50 million US, and we are roughly in 4 markets. But we've only been around for 4 years, but it's, we see the e-commerce potential in Southeast Asia is something very big. And currently, it's the domestic market, it's local, right? So there's a lot of these big brands, global brands, wanting to enter the market. But we do see that the future is eventually going to be able to help local manufacturers, right, in Thailand or in Indonesia, be able to sell in, Alibaba, China, Rakuten, Japan, Amazon, the US. So we think that, global trade, regional trade is going to be, much more efficient with e-commerce, but allows a lot of opportunities for local entrepreneurs, local manufacturers to really build a global brand.
So you see the opportunities to help the entrepreneur, the big entrepreneur or the big corporate to build the brand with your service. And you might use Thailand as a hub and then expand your business into the regions, for example, to Indonesia, right? And in comparison, if I ask you in further, if you compare the ecosystem here in Thailand and the ecosystem in the other countries in Southeast Asia, do you see any challenges and opportunities in comparative terms?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I think, funding, right? When you look at the Indonesian market, the market is very big. 270 million. But the challenge you also have is the consumer there is actually a third or a half of that of Thailand in terms of consumer buying power. So, it's a big market, but I think, when you think of e-commerce in Thailand, it's, Indonesia and Thailand are very similar in terms of market size for, in the billions of dollars for both markets. But, the ecosystem is different in Thailand because I think that Indonesia right now is the next hottest thing. You have China, you have India, you have Indonesia. And Indonesia, you have hundreds of millions of dollars in funding, going to these big companies, big startups. But, you have a lot of VC, and also actually you have a lot of exits as well in Indonesia. I would say next would be probably Singapore. And it's really the amount of capital that's available for entrepreneurs, early stage funding, all the way from Series A all the way to B and C. And so these two countries, I would say, have that advantage over Thailand at the moment where, I always say, like, just follow the money. And, why companies now go to Indonesia is, yes, the market is big, but there's actually a lot of, capital there as well. Where I think Thailand, now there's starting to be, more and more funds set up. CVC funds, the VC money is coming in here. So I do think that Thailand is going to, catch up, but, I still see a lot more money going into Singapore and into Indonesia.
So can I say that one of the key success factors is the capital, right? Because you can find capital easily here in Thailand and also in Indonesia and even in Singapore, right?
Yes, that's definitely one thing. But when you think about one advantage that Thailand has, I think is what's important is also, I would say, the quality of life.
Quality of life.
I mean, when you think about, also how cost effective it is, how cheap it is actually to live here. but also to have, you have the beaches, but you're also in a central hub. When you think of the number of flights that come in and out of Bangkok when you run a regional business, it's incredibly important. And I think that, Thailand, also when you think of the land routes from China, right? If you're an e-commerce company, you're in logistics, it's actually very strategic to be, in Thailand versus, let's say, in Indonesia, where, the island logistics or the islands and the logistics there is incredibly difficult. And that's where I think that, Thailand has that advantage of, a 2 to 3 hour flight to a lot of the different countries.
Now, I would like to move to Kun Yod. Wongnai is well known to everybody here. Could you please share the experience to develop Wongnai from very beginning, and how could you operate that Wongnai successfully right now?
First of all, I'm sorry for being late. Was stuck in traffic, and it's already raining outside, so bad news for all of us. Wongnai, I'm not even sure if Wongnai is successful yet. I like to think that we are only maybe 30-40% of the way. We have many more things to do. Obviously, I'm one of the older startups in Thailand. We started since 2010. Wongnai started with myself and another 3 co-founders. We started with starting to do reviews for restaurants. So basically, it's an easy idea that you can find anywhere. I found a website in the US called Yelp.com. I use it a lot in the US. I use it to find restaurants. I use it to find many type of businesses. Every time I want to go somewhere, I search in Yelp.com first. So I was wondering why there was no such thing in Thailand at the time. It was 2010. So I decided to start it myself. I asked 3 other friends to join me without any salary. So we started from scratch. We didn't have any VC money. I tried to raise money from many VCs in the early years, but then the market wasn't ready. There was one guy who could raise a VC money, which is Kun Paul from Minnesota, right? But you raised from the US. Yeah. In Thailand, there was basically no money, so we started from scratch. We launched Wongnai in 2010. In the first 2 years, there were only maybe like 30,000 users, which is not nearly enough to make any living. So we needed to turn ourselves into a software house. So we started to do some projects from other companies. For example, Kun Paul was once my client. Yeah, so we do some software house projects for other companies to survive. So in the first 2 years, we were losing money, and we had to do many things in order to survive. But then in 2012, 2013, the market started to pick up. There were some VCs coming in, and we knew right away that we were going to raise money. So we stopped the software house thing, and then we focused on Wongnai. We started to recruit more people, invest more money, and then we raised money from Recruit Group from Japan, and then also from Invent. From then on, we grow exponentially. So 2012, 2013 was the time when people started to use Wongnai. So we grew because of many things. So of course, the ecosystem of startup helps because people know startups better. There were money, there were media starting to talk about Wongnai. But then also smartphone penetration and so also internet 3G is also very important because Wongnai basic use case is to find restaurants around you. So without the use of smartphone and without the good internet in 2010, by the way, in 2000 I was still using BlackBerry, which cannot install apps. So we started to do apps in 2011, and then in 2012, 2013, people started to use iPhone and Android more and more. So that also contributed to our growth. But of course, I think our product, which is Wongnai.com and also Wongnai application, started not to suck in 2012. Like in the first versions, I have to admit that it was still bad. Like the user experience was bad, the data was not there were not a lot of reviews, and then you cannot search for many things. But then in 2012, after 2 years of working on the project, we started to accumulate a lot of restaurants and reviews. The ranking algorithm, the search algorithm started to look better. At the same time, when people started to use smartphone, people had to download something. So they download our app, and then they use it, and they find it useful. So they tell their friends. So then we started to grow until today. Yeah, so that's the long story short.
ครับ quite long history of the Wongnai
Yes.
and starting with not the rosy way, of course, right? Because you say that in the first 3 years you have to do the software house to gain some revenue.
Yes.
Right? Otherwise, you might not survive.
Even if we gained some revenue, it was not enough. We were still losing money. In the first 2 years, maybe we lost around 3 million baht,
ครับ
which is, maybe it's not a lot, but it's our personal money. So
ครับ
it was a lot at that time.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So one of the difficulties at that time was the capital, but at the same time, I guess that technology for the smartphone at that time, because at that time, if I'm not incorrect, we had only the H, not 3Gs
Yes,
or 4Gs
2Gs,
right now.
only 2Gs.
Right. So at least two factors for success of Wongnai is the capital and then the technology that come in time, right?
Of course.
ครับ
I think those two helps.
ครับ
Yeah, but at the same time, because we started early, there were less competitions.
ครับ
Yeah.
ครับ
Hello. I would just like to add that actually Kunyot, I mean, the way he started, is really important because, he had to earn revenues via, building development, right, for other companies. When you look at other companies that were successful, that's how they actually started, right, where they built a B2B business, they learned how to manage a team, they learned how to manage cash flow, right, and so when he got money, then he started to learn how to scale the business. But a lot of successful startups actually start by doing a lot of outsourcing work. I mean, when we first started, we were doing the exact same thing as well. And I remember, I think Kun Mu from Okbi, also very similar, started also as a dev house. And I think that actually teaches you how to, manage a team and manage, and just to learn how to build a business. So then when you actually do focus on, whether it's an app or a very specific business model, you actually, you have all that experience already built in.
ครับ So by that two factors, at least the capital and then the technology, which is in place right now, you think that all the improve in that environment will encourage or enhance the success of the startup currently? I would like to start with Kun Paul first.
Sorry, is it with technology?
Yes,
and
technology and the capital.
I mean, I think now with the abundance of, capital and the technology, right, you can't just think local anymore, right? Meaning that, how democratic actually technology is that, when you think about the building a business today, it's not just competing against Thai companies. And before we thought it would just be competing against, the big conglomerates in Thailand, wanting to come into the space, or Singaporean companies. But now we see Chinese companies coming in, American companies coming in. And so really when you think about, building any technology company, you have to start to think about what your local advantage is going to be. Right? Is it going to be the local APIs, the local integrations, the local data, right? And you have to really figure out how to localize it to compete against these, giant technology companies globally. And every VC is going to ask you, how are you going to defend against these, big tech companies? Because, when you think about companies like Line, for example, they can go into everything, right? Because they actually control a lot of the consumers and when you think about whether it's ratings, it's reviews, a lot of actually businesses can be at risk. I mean, e-commerce, for example, a lot of people don't think, but Facebook and Google are going to start to come in and be very competitive, right? A lot of people think it's just like Amazon or Alibaba, right? But Facebook, Google, and they're coming in and they're looking at e-commerce all the way to even logistics. And even logistics companies, retail companies have to be worried locally and try to figure out how to compete at the local level.
So you mean that the competition right now is borderless. So we have to focus on the local strength to find whether we can serve the local demand, right?
Yes, and you have to, that's why even in our business, technology can be one layer,
Yep.
right? But local services and local infrastructure that allows you to actually defend against companies that can be, let's say, based in America. They launch tech in Thailand, like Facebook or Google, and can you compete against those companies, right? And so that's where, yeah.
And how about Wongnai? Do you
I'd like to second that. Recently, we do some, research, like competitor research, and we found out that our competitors are not Thai websites and Thai apps anymore, but our competitors are actually Instagram, Facebook, and Google Maps. So people search and find new restaurants and find things to eat via these global services. So those are actually the competitor of Wongnai. So we are actually competing against global competitors. So that's the disadvantage of this age. It's like in 2010, maybe Instagram was not this popular. Google Maps and Facebook are also not very local, but right now they all have those. So to start a business now, it may be faster to reach the first stage, but it also, you have to face more competitions.
Yes. More difficult, in fact, right? คุณThanapong ครับ as an investor, so you see that there are a lot of difficulties for startup today, and if you are going to invest in any startup, what criteria that you are going to set up, and after the investment, how you can assess the success of that investment?
So I think the first thing that we focus when we consider to invest in the startup is the founder. Like I invest in Wongnai. So like Kun Yod said, we talk with Wongnai earlier before we invest at the first 1 or 2 years.
2011. Maybe.
But that time the market is not ready. His application still not popular. But we noticed that Kun Yod have a good entrepreneurship, good passion to do this in Thailand. So we keep update, we keep follow him for a while. Once he succeed and he come back again, so it's no problem for us to invest in him because we follow him for a while. We know that he will be success in this thing. So the key thing is the founder.
How many rounds you invest in that?
I invest in Wongnai in Series B. He got the Series A from the Japanese VC, and we put the money in Series B. And now he looking for IPO now. And another thing is what we call in the startup community, we call the unfair advantage. Like we said here that we will face high competition even in local competitor and the global players. So what kind of the unfair advantage or differentiation that you have to protect your business, protect your market from this competitor? If you can show that you have a high entry barrier for the competitor, that will make us feel comfortable to invest. Like Wongnai have a big pool of the restaurant in his platform right now. He get about 200,000 restaurants in the platform. I think it's quite difficult for the Google Map or any foreigner application to compete with.